They will not tell you this in school. They will not say it in the boardroom or the self-help section or the productivity podcast you listen to on the drive to a job that is consuming your only life. But Niccolo Machiavelli said it. 500 years ago, in a small room in Florence, writing by candlelight after being stripped of everything, he mapped it with a clarity that the modern world has spent centuries trying to bury. He said that the most powerful thing you can take from a man is not his money, not his status, not his position. It is his attention. Because the man who controls where your mind goes controls what your life becomes. And the moment you accepted the world's terms for how your attention is spent, you handed that control away. Not under force, not through ignorance. You handed it away in exchange for the feeling of being connected, being informed, being part of something. You handed it away and called it living. Look at what it has produced. You are surrounded by men who are permanently in motion and permanently in place. Men who are exhausted and have nothing to show for the exhaustion. Men who know something is wrong but cannot name it because the thing that is wrong was designed to be invisible, designed to feel like freedom while functioning as a cage. The cage is your scattered attention. The bars are made of notifications and urgency and the social pressure to be available, responsive, present for everything except the one thing you were put here to build. Machiavelli did not write for the comfortable. He wrote for men who were willing to see the world without the comfort of its illusions. Men who wanted to understand how power actually operates, not how they were told it operates. What follows is not motivation. Motivation is what men manufacture when they lack the clarity to simply move. What follows is the mechanism, the precise, cold, Machiavellian architecture of how a man reclaims his attention, concentrates it with ruthless discipline, and becomes the kind of dangerous that the distracted world has no framework to stop. Pay attention. This will be the most important thing you do with it today, what you were taught to confuse with progress. There is a story the modern world tells about what a successful man looks like. He is busy, he is connected, he responds quickly. He carries multiple responsibilities with visible competence and moves through his days at a pace that signals importance. He is informed about everything. He has opinions on everything. He is everywhere at once, which the world has taught you to read as a sign that he is going somewhere. He is not going anywhere. He is performing the appearance of direction while standing completely still. And the tragedy is not that he is being deceived. The tragedy is that he built the performance himself, willingly, because the world rewarded it. The world gave him the feeling of productivity without requiring him to produce anything that compounds. Machiavelli identified this pattern in the courts of Renaissance Italy. He called it the performance of virtue. The prince who appeared decisive without being decisive, who appeared focused without possessing focus, who manufactured the signals of power while the actual mechanisms of power were being operated by someone else, someone quieter, someone the court had stopped watching because he was too boring to observe. The boring man was building, the interesting man was being watched, and when the interesting man looked up from his performance, the boring man had already won. You have been taught to be interesting, to be visible, to be in motion. Everything the world rewards in the short term is precisely what destroys you in the long term. This is not an accident. This is the design.
What power actually looks like from the inside. The focused man does not look focused from the outside. He looks slow. He looks selective. He looks to the people moving quickly around him like a man who has not yet understood that speed is required. They will interpret his stillness as hesitation, his silence as uncertainty, his refusal to scatter himself across every available opportunity as a failure of ambition. They are wrong, but he will not correct them. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who reveals the full scope of his intention invites resistance before his position is secure. The man who is understood too early is the man who can be stopped too early. Mystery is not a personality trait, it is a strategic condition. The man who cannot be read cannot be countered. The focused man moves differently because he has answered a question most men never ask. Not, what should I be doing? But what is the single outcome that, if achieved, makes everything else either irrelevant or easier? He has named it. He has written it somewhere he cannot avoid. And every decision he makes passes through that question first, without negotiation, without exception. This is what power looks like from the inside. Not energy, not speed, not the visible performance of ambition. Precision, patience, and the cold willingness to let the world misread you for as long as it takes. Rule 1. Name the target or become someone else's resource. The man without a decided focus becomes a tool for whoever decided theirs first. Machiavelli watched this happen in every court he studied. Men of extraordinary capability arriving at positions of influence with no decided architecture for what they intended to build. And within months, sometimes weeks, those men had become instruments, not because they were weak, because they were undirected. And undirected capability does not remain neutral. It flows toward whoever has the clearest pull. You are not exempt from this mechanism. If you have not decided with precision what you are building something for someone who has. The naming of the target is not a motivational exercise. It is not a vision board or a goal-setting ritual. It is a declaration of what your attention serves. Once made, it functions as a filter. Every opportunity, every obligation, every request for your time passes through it. The ones that serve the target get through. The ones that do not are not deprioritized. They are rejected. Not temporarily, structurally. The man who has not named his target experiences this filter as guilt. He feels he is saying no to things he should be saying yes to. He feels he is neglecting obligations he should be honoring. He feels the social friction of his refusals and interprets that friction as evidence that he is doing something wrong. He is doing the only thing right. The friction is proof that the filter is working. The discomfort is the cost of the target, and the target will not be reached by a man who is not willing to pay it. Name the target. Name it precisely. Name it until you can say it in one sentence without qualification. Then make every decision inside that sentence. Everything outside it is noise wearing the costume of opportunity.
Rule 2. Eliminate with violence. Optimize what survives. Addition is the strategy of the weak. Subtraction is the strategy of the powerful. The instinct of the undisciplined man is to add. He adds habits. He adds systems. He adds layers of structure over the chaos rather than removing the chaos itself. He reads about the morning routines of powerful men and constructs one, not understanding that the routine was never the source of the power. The power was the focused elimination of everything that was not the work. The routine was what filled the space left behind. Machiavelli was unambiguous about this. The prince who attempts to maintain every alliance, honor every obligation, and preserve every relationship distributes his strength until strength is indistinguishable from weakness. Power is not spread, it is concentrated, and concentration requires removal. Take the last 30 days of your life. Not how you intended them, how they actually occurred, where the hours went, what received your attention at the level of real engagement versus what received the performance of engagement. Now ask one question about every item. Does this move me toward the single target I have named? Yes or no? There is no maybe. Maybe is how the unnecessary survives elimination. Everything that answers no is not a lower priority. It is occupying space that belongs to the target. Remove it. Not when it becomes convenient, now. The convenient moment does not arrive for men who are waiting for it. There's a specific kind of man who optimizes everything around the work while avoiding the work itself. He constructs an elaborate architecture of discipline, the perfect morning, the ideal workspace, the precisely calibrated routine, and the work sits at the center of that architecture untouched, because touching it would require him to risk failure at the thing that actually matters. The rituals exist to protect him from that risk. Machiavelli would have named it immediately, the performance of preparation as a substitute for the act of building. Eliminate before you construct. Remove before you refine. What survives the elimination is what deserves your optimization. The powerful man is not the one who does the most. He is the one who has removed everything that is not the one thing. Removal is the first act of power. Everything else is administration. Rule 3. The world will test your focus every single day. Pass the test. Every compelling distraction is a checkpoint. The man who stops at checkpoints never arrives. Understand this clearly. The distractions that threaten your focus are not random. They are not simply the noise of a chaotic world bleeding into your space. The most dangerous distractions come packaged as opportunities. They arrive wearing the language of growth, of connection, of things you cannot afford to miss. They are calibrated precisely to the frequency of your ambition so that they feel relevant, feel important, feel like exactly the kind of thing a man building something should say yes to. Machiavelli wrote that the most dangerous enemy is the one who approaches as an ally. An attack you can see coming can be defended. An attack disguised as an opportunity bypasses every defense you have built. The man who has named his target develops a specific immunity over time, not to all opportunity, to opportunity that is not in service of the target. He stops experiencing these things as difficult choices. They begin to feel like obvious rejections. Because once the target is real and the commitment to it is structural, anything outside it does not feel like temptation. It feels like a detour. And the man who is serious about the destination does not take detours. The people around you will call this rigidity. They will say you are missing things. They will construct arguments for why this particular opportunity is different, why this specific detour is actually in service of the larger goal, why a man of real ambition would see what they are seeing. The man who falls for this argument falls for it every time, because the argument is always available. There is always a case to be made for the distraction. That is what makes it dangerous. Pass the test every day without explanation. The target does not care about the quality of the reasons you had for abandoning it. A focused man turning down an opportunity looks from the outside exactly like a man making a mistake. From the inside, it feels like the only thing that makes sense. That distance between how it looks and how it feels is where your power lives.
Rule 4. Your information environment is a weapon aimed at you. The man who does not control what enters his mind has no mind of his own. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who relies on information provided by those who benefit from his decisions will never make a decision that benefits himself. Read that again, slowly. Every piece of content you consume was created by someone. Every creator had an intention. Every platform that delivered it to you had an algorithm. Every algorithm was built by an organization with a financial interest in what you believe, what you fear, what you want, and how long you remain in a state of wanting it without obtaining it. You are not consuming content. You are being shaped by it, continuously, invisibly, with your complete participation and your complete unawareness. The man who controls his information environment controls the quality of his own thinking. The man who surrenders that environment to algorithms, to social feeds, to the ambient outrage of a culture that has monetized your emotional reaction has outsourced the construction of his own mind to entities that profit from his confusion. Audit what you have allowed inside your mind in the last month, not what you intended to consume, what you actually absorbed. Now ask what each of it produced in you, not what it was about, what it made you feel, believe, fear, desire, how it shifted the direction of your attention without you deciding that it should. The focused man does not consume less. He consumes with a precision that the distracted man finds incomprehensible. Every input is evaluated against one standard. Does this deepen my understanding of the one thing I am building, or does it not? If it does not enter. Not because he is closed, because he is full of the specific knowledge his target demands. The man who controls his inputs controls his outputs. The man who surrenders his inputs becomes an output of someone else's process. You are the product of what you have allowed inside your mind. Look at your life carefully, then look at what you have been consuming. The relationship between those two things is not coincidence, it is causation. Rule 5. The mind is a fortress. Defend it as one. The man who does not choose his mental state will have one chosen for him every single day. There is a war being fought inside you right now. You may not have named it as a war, but the siege is ongoing. Every morning before your eyes fully open, the world is already queued and waiting. The notifications, the demands, the ambient outrage of a culture that has monetized your emotional reaction. Each one is a request for a piece of your mental bandwidth. Each one arrives before you have decided what your bandwidth serves today. Machiavelli's general does not open the gates of his fortress at dawn because visitors are assembled. He assesses the field first. He determines the day's objective. He decides what receives access and what waits. The gates open on his terms, not on the urgency of whatever is assembled outside. Your morning is the fortress gate. What you allow in first shapes everything that follows. The man who opens his phone before he has established the day's internal architecture has surrendered the day before it began. He will spend the next 16 hours reacting to a frame he did not build. Build the frame first. Decide before the world reaches you what the day is in service of. What receives your best hours, what receives nothing. Then open the gate. Let in what you decided to let in. Screen what you did not. The mental state is not a mood. It is not the emotional weather that happens to you. It is a condition that can be constructed, defended, and maintained with the same deliberateness you would apply to any other strategic position. The man who treats it as a mood is a man perpetually at the mercy of whoever reached him first. The man who treats it as a fortress is a man who arrives at the work the same way every day, intact, ready, not depleted before he has begun. Protect the fortress, not when the siege becomes intense, before it begins. Every morning. The man who waits until he is overwhelmed to start defending was never defending. He was just losing slowly.
Rule 6. Depth is the multiplier. Everything else is arithmetic. 3 hours of complete presence will outproduce 8 hours of fragmentation, every time, without exception. There is a difference between work and deep work that most men have never experienced long enough to understand. Work is the performance of occupation. It fills time. It generates activity. It produces the feeling of productivity, and in aggregate, a modest accumulation of output. The man who works in this way is not failing. He is simply caught in arithmetic. He adds 1 hour of effort and receives 1 hour of output. Linear, predictable, ordinary. Deep work is something different in its nature. When a man enters a state of complete, unbroken, undivided engagement with the single target, the relationship between time invested and value produced stops being arithmetic. It becomes exponential. 3 hours of this produces what 8 hours of fragmented effort cannot reach, not because of effort, because of depth. Machiavelli understood this as military physics. The army that concentrates its entire force on a single point in the enemy line does not simply perform better than the army that distributes its force evenly. It operates according to a different law entirely. Concentrated force breaks through. Distributed force is absorbed. One produces a result, the other produces noise. The same law governs everything you are trying to build. Protect hours of unbroken engagement the way a general protects the critical terrain of a campaign. Not the most convenient hours, not the hours left over after everything else has been attended to. The best hours. The hours when your cognition is at its peak. Those hours belong to the target and to nothing else.
The world will attempt to fill those hours. Meetings, requests, the ambient urgency of other people's priorities. The man who permits this is the man who works arithmetic while his competition compounds. The man who defends those hours is compounding in a game where most of his competition does not know compounding is possible. The man who works constantly produces constantly. The man who works deeply produces exponentially. The gap between those two men does not close with more effort. It closes only with more depth. Rule 7. The body is the instrument of the will. Maintain it accordingly. A sharp mind inside a failing body is a weapon no one can fire. Machiavelli did not separate the condition of the general from the condition of the campaign. He understood that strategy exists inside a man, and the quality of what exists inside that man is inseparable from the condition of his physical instrument. The general who is sleep-deprived brings a degraded mind to his finest strategy. The soldier who is physically compromised executes at diminished capacity, regardless of his training. The instrument and the strategy are not separate things. They are one system. You are that system. The man who treats physical maintenance as a luxury, as something he will attend to when the work allows it, is the man who will eventually discover that the work no longer allows him. Not because the work became too difficult, because the instrument became too compromised to execute it. Sleep is not rest. It is the period during which the mind consolidates, repairs, and prepares for the precision work you will ask of it. The man who cuts this period in the name of productivity is a man who is borrowing against a loan that charges interest he cannot see accumulating. He will feel fine until the moment he does not, and by then, the debt is significant. Eat, sleep, and move in ways that keep the instrument sharp, not for aesthetics, not as a signal of self-discipline to observers, as operational maintenance of the weapon you are using to conduct the only campaign that matters. The man who neglects this maintenance will reach the critical moment of his mission, the moment when everything is finally in position, and discover that he cannot perform at the level the moment requires, not for lack of will, for lack of instrument. The mission does not reward the man who sacrificed his body for it. It rewards the man who maintained his body as the tool the mission required. Arrive whole, arrive sharp, arrive capable of doing what only you can do at the moment it must be done.
Rule 8. Silence is not emptiness. It is where power accumulates. The man who cannot sit with silence cannot hear the signal beneath the noise, and the signal is everything. You have been conditioned to fear the empty moment, not consciously, not through a decision you made, through 10,000 small reinforcements, each one rewarding you for filling the silence, and each one subtly penalizing you for tolerating it. The phone in your pocket vibrates, and you reach for it before you have considered whether reaching is what you intended. The quiet in the car becomes a podcast. The space between tasks becomes a scroll. The silence is never allowed to exist long enough to become something. What it would become, if you allowed it, is the most valuable cognitive state available to you. Machiavelli wrote The Prince during years of enforced exile. Removed from power, stripped of position, living in rural stillness he had not chosen and initially resisted. The document that has shaped the thinking of rulers, strategists, and power brokers for 5 centuries was not written at the height of his influence. It was written in the silence that followed the collapse of everything he had built. The silence did not diminish him. It revealed what he actually knew. Boredom is not the absence of thought. It is the condition under which the deepest thinking becomes possible. The subconscious processes without interference. Connections form that the busy mind cannot make because the busy mind is always occupied with what is directly in front of it. The insight that would change the direction of your work is not waiting in another piece of content. It is waiting in the silence you keep filling. Sit with the discomfort. Do not fill it.
Do not reach for the device. Do not manufacture an urgency to attend to. Sit in the emptiness until the emptiness reveals what it contains. The man who can do this is the most dangerous kind, not because of what he has consumed, because of what he has had space to think. The noise you fill your silence with is not yours. It belongs to whoever created it. The thoughts that emerge from genuine silence are yours entirely. Protect the silence. It is where you actually live. Rule 9. Urgency is a manufactured tage. Discernment is the key.
The man who responds to everything has decided nothing. He is being decided for. Understand the mechanism precisely. Urgency is not an objective quality of events. It is a frame applied to events by whoever benefits from your immediate response. The notification is urgent because the platform designed it to feel that way. The email is urgent because the sender framed it that way. The news cycle is urgent because urgency is what produces clicks. The request arriving at your door is urgent because the person making it needs your compliance before you have time to evaluate whether it deserves it. Almost none of what presents itself as urgent is important, and almost none of what is important will ever present itself as urgent. The important things are structural, long-term, and silent. They do not vibrate. They do not push notifications. They simply wait, with complete indifference to whether you attend to them, while the urgent things consume the hours that should have belonged to them. Machiavelli observed that the prince who reacted to every provocation was not displaying strength. He was displaying the most exploitable kind of weakness. His enemies had discovered that they could direct his attention simply by generating the appearance of necessity. He was not making decisions. He was being made to react. And the man who is always reacting is never building. Build a deliberate delay into every response. Not for everything that is not a genuine emergency, which is nearly everything. 48 hours before you respond to what presented itself as requiring immediate action. In that window, observe what happens to the urgency. Watch it dissolve in most cases. Watch it reveal itself as a frame, as a pressure tactic, as the appearance of necessity that was never actual necessity. The things that survived the delay are the things that deserved your attention. Everything that dissolved was borrowed time, returned before the interest accumulated. The urgent man lives inside other people's timelines. The focused man lives inside his own. The difference between those two existences is not circumstance. It is the single decision to stop treating urgency as authority.
Rule 10. The social cost is not a cost. It is a confirmation. When the people around you become uncomfortable with who you are becoming someone real. This will happen. It is not a possibility. It is a certainty. The moment you stop being available in the ways you were previously available, the moment you stop participating in the rituals that held the social architecture together, the moment you begin operating on a timeline and in service of a vision that the people around you did not choose and cannot follow, the discomfort begins. They will say you have changed. They will say it with concern initially and with judgment eventually. They will offer interpretations of your behavior that position their discomfort as evidence that something is wrong with you. They will construct the argument that balance is what you need, that relationships require presence, that the person you are becoming is a diminished version of the person you were. They are wrong, but they are not lying. They genuinely experience your focus as a withdrawal, because it is. You are withdrawing attention from them and directing it toward the target, and people who have been receiving your attention experience its removal as loss, and loss as a problem that requires correction. Machiavelli was unsparing about this. The prince who governs his focus based on how it is received by those around him has made those people his governors. He is not focused. He is performing focus within the boundaries that social approval permits, which is not focus at all. It is a negotiated compromise wearing the costume of direction.
The social cost is not a signal that you are making a mistake. It is a signal that the distance between where you are going and where the people around you are going is real and growing. That distance is not a failure of relationship. It is a measurement of how seriously you are taking the target. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them say what they say. Do not correct them, defend yourself, or attempt to make your direction legible to people who have not decided to go anywhere. Your direction does not require their understanding. It requires your continued execution. Mystery is not a side effect of focus. It is one of its most powerful components. The man who cannot be read cannot be stopped. Let them wonder. Keep building. The two men, the one decision. The rest is already written. 5 years from now, one of two men exists. The first man is still explaining why. He has a sophisticated account of the obstacles, the timing that was wrong, the opportunities that did not arrive, the relationships that demanded more than he could give, the circumstances that conspired. He has refined the explanation over 5 years until it is nearly indistinguishable from truth. He believes that it is not true. The truth is that 5 years ago, he was standing exactly where you are standing right now, with the same choice in front of him, and he deferred it. Not once, 1,000 times. Each deferral was small enough to be reasonable. In aggregate, they were everything. The second man is not thinking about explanations. He is not thinking about what the journey cost him. He knows what it cost. He paid it deliberately, with full awareness of the price, without the expectation of sympathy. He is thinking about what comes next, because the target has been reached, and a man with a reached target does not stop. He names a new one, from a position of leverage that did not exist 5 years ago, from a foundation that cannot be taken from him because he built it himself, with his own focused, deliberate, uninterrupted attention. These two men did not diverge because of talent. They did not diverge because of circumstance, background, luck, or the particular configuration of advantages they were born into. They diverged because one of them made a decision and the other made an explanation. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the man who acts in accordance with the times. He meant something colder than it sounds. He meant that the man who moves with precision and without hesitation when the moment demands it will find that the world arranges itself around his direction, not through luck, through the gravitational pull of committed focus on everything else that must move to accommodate it. The moment is now. It is always now. The man who is waiting for a better moment is the first man. He has been waiting for 5 years. He will wait for 5 more. Here is the only question that matters. When you finish watching this, will you be the man who understood it, or the man who built something with it? Because understanding and building are not the same thing. And Machiavelli, 500 years ago, in a small room in Florence, with nothing left but clarity, understood that distinction better than almost anyone who has lived since. He named his target. He protected his attention. He sat in the silence others could not tolerate. And he built something that outlasted every man who dismissed him. The decision is in front of you. It will not wait.